At 19 years old, I moved my sister in with me and my husband when we moved from Waco, Texas to Baton Rouge, Louisiana to teach. And that broke me. That relationship with my sister broke me to no end. So I was 20 years old and probably getting ready to turn 21. So 2021, about that age, we moved to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I was going to Teach for America, except that summer I had to spend an entire summer in the Mississippi Delta just really learning about teaching philosophies and all the other crap, and actually teaching some kids during summer school, like some high schoolers. I taught them. And I taught them. And I realized, like, when I came back, that there's a little bit of difference. So, as a context, I wasn't raised with my sister. She spent most of her time with her biological dad. I spent most of my time with my mom. Didn't really have a relationship with my biological dad. And I had so many issues when I was younger. And one of the issues stemmed from being sexually assaulted multiple times, both from family members or members within the family. So, sexually assaulted when I was very, very young, like 3, 4 years old. And then I was assaulted again when I was around 10 or 11. And multiple issues stemming from that. But one of the most self-destroying feelings I got from that was my inability to love or connect with others. Everyone always thought that I was so mean, and there wasn't, a real reason to get to know this kid. This kid isn't warm. This kid is very protective. You can't really read her. And that's kind of some of the things I get from people to this day. You meet me, you have met me, you work with me. What is she really thinking? And really, it's a protective mechanism. What does it have to do with my sister? I'm not quite sure if my sister dealt with the same thing because, like I said, she spent a lot more time with her biological dad, living in other states and things of that sort. But I felt like my key to acceptance, or my key to validation, or my key to love was my sister. And every single piece of identity was like, that is evil. These are thoughts that I give myself. That is evil. She does not like people. She has so much hate in her heart and just is not easy to love. Does not get along with authority. I got whoopings on the daily and did not care. And as you can see now, I really don't care still, but like, you can't whip me. You're not gonna whip me. You might be able to whip me. I can't fight, but you can't whip my husband, okay? You cannot. He from Alabama. What's up? But uh, one of those things was like really tied to my sister, and I idolize my sister. Now get this, y'all. I idolize my sister. My sister is, uh, I think she's born in 97. Don't kill me if you're not. But she's like 3 years younger than me. And she was thought of as the woman of the family. Like, she takes care of everybody. And everybody, when you tell people that you have 6 siblings, they automatically think it's you. Bro, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. You asked me anytime we had Thanksgiving, I'm not chilling with y'all. I might play football or whatever, because that sort of identity was tied to me protecting myself, and was just really how I identified, right? If I could protect myself, if I acted like a guy, if I dressed up a certain way, then I wouldn't attract the wrong sort of attention after being targeted so many times. But I really, even now, have to sit there and think, like, if you were 3 or 4 years old, if you were 10 years old, like, what could you possibly have done? But it's really just like a mental thing. Like, I was sitting there and talking to myself through this whole thing, and it's just kind of like, yeah, you did this, you said this, or, like, 4, I wasn't doing that, obviously. But at 10 years old, you dress like this, you did this or you did that. So it was a whole situation of me blaming myself. And the only way that I could see the light is if I spent time with somebody that everyone liked or had the qualities that everyone likes. And my sister, she had other options. And I held a lot of resentment for my mother because I felt like you should have made people you should have made people accept me. Like, my sister had sleepovers. My sister had so many godparents. Like, she was all over everywhere. Like, hey, what's up? What's Anna doing? And like, for me, that's not necessarily something that I attracted. I actually really didn't attract anything because at the end of the day, that was the vibes I was getting. So don't think that this whole conversation is going to be about me bashing my sister, because there's a lesson in it. But I put all of those values or identities in my sister and made her this whole angelic piece. So she came to Baton Rouge with the understanding that she would be going to LSU. And this is something that she had always talked about on her bucket list. And I was just like, I don't have a lot of money. I don't have a lot of this or that. But I could definitely, set you up. You can get like a really simple job and, go to LSU, graduate, do what you desire to do. This was her desire. And after, being there for a year, really just had the conversation that's like, what exactly are you doing? It's not really adding up. Uh, it just seemed like very secretive, or that she couldn't be open with us. And she ended up having a baby with a guy in Baton Rouge. And like, it was at that moment that I was like, I have to stop putting labels or values on people that are still trying to figure this out themselves. Look, when I tell you guys that I've been sexually abused when I was really young, and I was sexually abused, like both times they were really young, but like the second time it went on for a while. And I seem to see trends of this on TikTok. And it's just kind of like, a lot of y'all shouldn't have kids. You are, terrible people, terrible parents. And I get it. But you got to also realize that your parents were parenting through their trauma. They were choosing to parent through their trauma. And you may feel like they're a piece of crap and that you have 103 different ways. But a lot of times when we have people throwing dirt on their parents or their parenting, you don't parent much better. Let me tell you this, there is no way you can parent much better than your parent who had trauma when you're on social media throwing dirt on the parent that parented during the trauma. There was no way. And you know why I'm saying that? I'm saying that because in your movement to put somebody else down when you're trying to get healing, you will never get your healing. You will never get your healing because you are viewing somebody that literally gave up any and everything that they could do because of a choice that they made. Yes. Because of a trauma that they endured. Yes. People don't make those decisions every day. It may seem small to you. It really may seem small to you, but you are now surrounded by people that gentle parent and that do all these other things. And it's like, wow, you people are amazing. But the difference is the environment, the access. And those people you more than likely would not have easily met if it wasn't due to social media. So yes, we have a lens on these things, but put this in context. There were certain things that your parent didn't have and still doesn't have One of the things they do have, though, is the relationship or conversation with you. Everybody is not owed a relationship, everybody is not owed a conversation. Change the way you are viewing the people that were there for you. Meet some people that didn't have anybody that fought for them. Then let's have a conversation. It's just not very conductive to development, I feel like, to have extensive conversations on what your parents didn't do. Now, if we're having conversations about what your parent didn't do to parent you, and that is constructive, then that's a whole nother conversation. But when we are having conversations about parenting and what exactly they did that caused trauma or things like that, and it's really just a session where you're just bashing your parent, you have to realize that you are speaking negativity, and that negativity will come back to you. You have issues with your parents that abandoned you or didn't give you love in the same way you need to. I can almost guarantee you that there is somebody in your life, you speaking that negativity, there is somebody in your life that feels like you should be doing the same thing. And why are we not being held accountable for that? Because you're still looking at the past at somebody else's actions and have never reconciled the actions of yours. Why? Because you are stuck in this place like, oh, so and so did this to me. So and so did that to me. And the mind is a powerful thing. Let's not sit here and act like the mind isn't, going to impact you or going to determine the way you look at certain things, but be 100% aware that the people that have actual goodness going on are not in your life because that's your only desire, is to sit and reflect on what so and so did to you and what so and so did to me. I can speak freely about my sexual abuse and the trauma that occurred in my family and all that. Why? Because I've been delivered. And you ain't gonna catch me talking about what so and so did and what so and so did. I'm 100% sure that they got what they needed to get. And I am fighting and going for what I need to get. You ain't gonna stop me, player. You're not gonna stop me. You're not gonna stop my mentality. You will not stop the people that I help on behalf of what happened to me. You know how many people that I have a conversation with, or how many students I had a conversation with that is just so caught in this moment. You could be 40, 50, 30, still caught in a moment that happened when you were 10 years old, and your whole life fly by. You ain't gonna catch me on that moment. Not that the moment didn't happen or the moment isn't important. You're not gonna catch me in that moment because I got people to free. You ain't freeing nobody, and you definitely not freeing yourself having those conversations. So that was just my little excerpt, okay? So we're talking about this, my relationship with my sister, right? So things that broke me but also built me. We went through that. And we went through this healing process, and my sister said, well, I feel like you guys were putting unrealistic expectations on me. It was very judgmental. It was, a place that we had fun or whatever. But sometimes it was at the risk of my true personality because you see me as this and you're holding me to this certain standard. And that's never somewhere that I've been. And I was like, okay, cool. We've grown, we accept responsibility for that because at this point, I really was like, I need you. I need that validation from you. I feel like you are my only connection to the family. You're the only person that I talk to constantly. You're the only person that really truly likes me. You're the only person that I feel good in connecting with. You're the only person that really cares for me because everybody else feels like Netta has gotten, you know, all the trophies and everything. Everybody sees me as like this glamorous person that got married, had a come up, has always done well in school, and just like never really faced any issues. I really don't understand like where it comes from, human perception or whatever. I don't understand where this perception of myself came from, because I remember myself as like an angry person, and every single thing that I completed was out of resentment. And people say, oh, it doesn't feel good when you complete this action or when you're mean to somebody. I was feeling fulfilled. Like I felt like, oh, bro, let's go build this person up, and then, undercut them with some information. Oof, that's gonna feel good. Like I got true happiness out of that, or happiness out of doing. And like when I say doing things out of resentment or spite, it was exactly like this. It was like, you know what? I'm gonna graduate high school because, not a lot of my cousins did. So I'm gonna graduate in spite of, what everybody else did. I'm gonna set the standard. And then when I got to college, I dealt with a lot junior year, including wanting to move to Oklahoma to have a relationship with my now husband. I wanted to move to Oklahoma and be closer to him. It removed me from the challenge that I was dealing with in Baylor. Let me tell you, Baylor stretched me to the depths of my soul. Baylor stretched me. And really, my junior year was really difficult. I took this international journalism class, and that class really had me, that class really had me just out of it. It was so academic. It was so varied, so many different cultures and things that I saw. And I was having to put projects together and submit them and really prove myself and hit deadlines and all that and have really deep thought. And I was not ready for that. So at that point, I said, Oklahoma Central University would be a much easier situation for me. Plus, my husband gave me a car the first time we met. My husband told me from day one that he knew that he was going to marry me. And I just wasn't there mentally, but I knew that I had to see it through, honestly, because having that conversation with him, and I said it out loud, that's how you manifest it and things happen. I said, I am going to either really hate this guy or I'm going to end up marrying him. This is me saying at 19 years old, I'm going to really end up hating this guy or marrying him. And I ended up marrying him. It took me a while to accept that. But I say all that to say that this was another challenge that I was enduring. And I hopped back to what made me comfortable. And of course, would have made some other situations a little easier too, right? My husband lived down the street from University of Central Oklahoma, and he would have been able to, do that. But also, he bought a car for $500 and he let me drive around in his Nissan Murano. It was like a cute little SUV, girl. Ooh, ooh, I love that car so much because it helped me through so much. It helped me get to work. Before that, I was literally walking from IHOP every day, and well, every work shift. That was mostly on the weekend. But I would walk from IHOP on Baylor's campus, and it was just like 2 miles or something like that to the house. So I did that for a while until I got a car, and then I started working at a bank. Sidebar. But aside from that, my husband, he was working at McDonald's, and he worked for McDonald's for a while. And my husband was also going through a mental transformation, and I'll let him tell y'all his story. But he was working at McDonald's for a while, and when I met him, he was working at McDonald's and still working at McDonald's. And it took us a while to come out of that. Why am I saying that? How is that connecting? Because people had this perception that I was gifted something, but my husband was working at McDonald's. Dead ass. Okay, dead ass. He was working at McDonald's, and He worked at McDonald's like the first couple years of our relationship. Yeah. So I take it to the chin and I say, maybe we were expecting too much of you. Maybe we had this wrong perception of you. At the time, my sister had to go back home, and I knew what she was dealing with at home because my family has little to no resources. So when it comes to my sister going back home, I knew she was doing so much of the physical load, and I knew that she was doing so much of the mental load going into the home and cleaning up and making sure, there was groceries in the house and things like that. And I said, I don't want you to do that. There is a lesson in pulling somebody out of the phase that they are in their life. You want to make the scene easier for them. You feel like they shouldn't have to go through a particular thing, so you remove that obstacle for them. There is a lesson in not doing that, because the same obstacle that I was going through junior year, I got over it. I became more persistent. I became more deep with my actions and with my words. And that I needed that to develop into the next step, which eventually I became a senior and graduated from Baylor. I did that. I did that. And I removed the obstacle for her and I pulled her out. And I remember her stepmom saying, "You'll be back. Y'all got into it last time. You'll be back." Not knowing that the stepmom and her dad, I thought I had a genuine relationship with. But as I was having conversations with them, trying to learn how to converse with my sister and actually be a person of authority, essentially asking her parents how I can navigate this situation, I became the villain. And that's because I took somebody out of a situation that God set aside for them to endure. There was a lesson in taking people out of a situation that God wanted you to endure. And guess who paid for that? I did. So my sister comes to Dallas and she is glad because she had a baby, and then she's getting ready to have another baby, and we have, our baby. And she was like, "I will make a way. I love watching kids. I'll watch my kids, your kid, during the day. And you can go ahead and work, and everyone will be at home and things of that sort, and it'll work out perfectly." Well, what ended up happening was her boyfriend came down from Oklahoma, and he ended up staying with us too. And there was a lot of static in that. I honestly thought it was a good time. I really did. I thought it was a good time. And, at particular points, he would stay in the room. And he would stay in the room and like completely avoid us, like go in the house, go straight to the room, and just like whatever. And we would be like, "What's up with that?" Well, they end up breaking up a couple times, and then they end up moving back to Oklahoma and getting, a nice house and stuff like that. And after we parted ways, it was kind of natural because we bought a house and, just new beginnings and things of that sort. So they go back home, and all of these feelings start coming back out. You know, like when someone knows that they have a particular, power over you, or they know that, you know, some certain things that you can get away with started to happen. But then it was just kind of like, it started to get spicy. So all these things are undercurrents, right? All of these things adding up from baby to baby to conversations where we judge improperly, and me feeling like I need my sister to be the other half of me. I'm not worthy of anything if my sister is not there for me. And after that, we kind of keep at a distance. Our relationship just is not the same because it's like the same thing happened, right? She gets pregnant. We get into it about like particular issues about guys staying at the house and all this craziness. And then I go down for my birthday. Y'all, this was last year. So I'm 27 now, about to turn 28. And this was last year. And I'm going down for my birthday, and I was just like, this will be the perfect time for Gabe to spend time with his cousins and go down to Oklahoma. We really don't do it much, even though we live in Dallas. We need to go down there and see him more. Okay, bet. So they didn't know, in the back of my mind, I'm actually dealing with so much from the school. I'm chasing money. Like the summer, they paid us $8,000 to work summer school, and I'm like, $8,000? You kidding me? I'm gonna be able to, pay this, whoop de whoop. I'm gonna be able to get this, stuff like that. Making plans with a buddy, get you all caught up doing stuff you ain't supposed to be doing. So I made plans with that money, and I worked the the entire school year, and I felt like I was not appreciated. This was the same place where they would give me praise for having ninth graders and for having a fairly structured classroom and, really interacting with parents. And then at the end of the school year, even despite COVID, I was able to get like top 5 scores in the district. And at the end of the year, we were required to go in and have a meeting with everyone, kind of a goodbye lunch, dinner situation. It was catered, so I guess it was a lunch. And I was not ever recognized. Nothing that I had done was political enough. It wasn't aligned enough. Didn't have enough people in my corner. Personally, I didn't care. I thought the most important thing in education was to make sure that kids were taught, that you have a good relationship with the parents, and you're good at your job. You give information, you help kids out inside and outside of school, you're good. That's a lie. Never was recognized. So now I'm down my value and my value professionally. Like, should I go to another school? Oh my God, we got another principal coming in. What exactly am I to do in this point in my life? And I was just moving. Like I told y'all, I worked summer school. So it wasn't even a week before I moved from regular school year to working summer school with kids that failed the school year. So I'm working that. I go down to Oklahoma for Memorial Day weekend, which is when my birthday is. And we have a little bit of an extended weekend, so perfect, drive down there, spend 2 days, come back. We go to the park, and Gabe is like playing with kids and what have you. And I brought Gabe down there to spend time with his cousins, right? I mean, we can see our people. It's not that big of a deal. But when it comes to your child, you want your child to know their people. And I brought Gabe down there for that. Well, at the end of the day, when we were getting ready to leave the park, what was the name of that park? Lake Hefner. We were at Lake Hefner. And when we were getting ready to leave that park, my sister's stepmom decides to take Adriana. And I'm already on the edge just professionally. But personally, it was a selfish move for me because you want to have your granddaughter that's there every single week, every single day, okay? You want her there for whatever reason. Or Anna wanted her there. My sister wanted her baby to go with her stepmom because Adri, or her daughter, was not, she wasn't acting right or what have you. And Adri ends up going with her. I'm ticked off because I feel like the whole situation is selfish. Adri, the baby, got upset. My sister got upset. So they split ways. And usually when she gets upset, she goes with her stepmom. And for me, that's not my child. So I can't speak on the situation. All I can speak on is how my child felt when the person that he came down there for didn't stay at the house because of they disagreed. Mind you, the baby's 3. So they disagree, and at 3, 4, she's able to say whatever, I'm going over grandma's. You know how grandparents do. So that situation happens, and I'm like, what the heck? We still got 2 more days, or it was another day or something like that. I head to her house, and her dad calls me, which he used to be a father figure for me, but the situation blew up. And this is what the situation blew up, and it broke me. When I say it broke me, yeah, I cried for months. I'm okay about it now. But he called me and he says, hey, are you guys coming to the house? And I say, I'm not coming to the house because we just drove from Lake Hefner to Dale City. You're closer to Lake Hefner, but she lives in Dale City, and we didn't know that y'all were doing something after the lake. Like, we think the lake is the thing, right? And there don't need to be no more after the lake, right? But he was like, no, we still having a little extended whoop-de-whoop. And I was like, oh, no, we ain't gonna make it. And somehow we got to talking about my sister's boyfriend. And really talking to my father figure, I'm like, we're just kicking the stuff. It really ain't nothing that, I haven't said before. I haven't told him or haven't told anyone else. But I really had just told him, he was saying that he doesn't necessarily like the guy. And I was like, at this point, they've been together, 2-3 years. What more what more do you want from the guy? Anna is okay with everything, or my sister is okay with everything that he provides and everything that he's done so far. So, like, I'm not gonna speak on it. It is what it is. He's gonna be who he's gonna be, and that's just in his development. Like, he'll just develop. But as we're talking, like, as we're having this conversation, my sister's stepmom, I didn't realize that he had the phone on speaker, which, even if I did realize it, it's his car, right? But he has it on Bluetooth in the car. She started yelling. I don't know why I want to her be talking about my daughter boyfriend and all that other stuff. Like, y'all always sitting up there talking about him. Girl, completely went off about having a conversation about my sister's boyfriend. And I'm sitting here like, why are you doing all that? They ain't got nothing to do with nothing. Messy. Blew the whole situation up. So the situation comes to a head. That conversation was taken to my sister and her boyfriend was like, they were talking down bad about him, and feels like he's da 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 this and da 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 that. A whole bunch of elaborations that I honestly don't care for. You meet me, you ain't gonna find me talking about nobody. And if you do find me talking about somebody, I'm probably talking about the way they walk or the way they talk or what they got on. But it's passing, just, oh man, something like that. Or at least that's how it was back then. That's definitely not something I care about now. But it's really fleeting. But this conversation was blown up. And my sister, in order to kind of provide a solution for what was going on, she asks her boyfriend's sister to bring her child to the house so he could play with my son. I was tripping, boy. But when you don't know somebody else's child or you don't know the parent like that, it's like, man, when I tell you that little boy was running around the house, acting up, pulling stuff down, hitting. We don't do hitting. You hitting, you got something that you need to say. You need something that you need to express. Several ways to express what you're feeling outside of hitting. Hitting makes my baby feel uncomfortable because he's not a hitter. Like, he'll play with me, but he know me. With everybody else, he's kind of like, So we had a conversation with him about when stuff happens to him, that he needs to let us know. So he came and he let us know. And I'm like, okay, here's this problem that is created from, this substitute child. He's supposed to be spending time with his cousin, but his cousin is somewhere, I don't want my child to be, and he's never been. So, we're in this predicament. So I tell Anna, your boyfriend's sister needs to know about him going around, really, because we're concerned. Like, the kid was spazzing, like unstructured, just like hitting and all over the place. And I'm really concerned for this kid because what is going on? If you ever see or have met Gabe is super chill, like super chill. And I'm super chill too, you know what I'm saying? I just be kicking back, talking, what have you. And uh during this whole situation, she calls the girl. And the girl answers the phone and she's like, "What the F? You stupid mother effer," and just starts cussing the kid out. I was like, girl, this is not what we intended when we told you this. Like, I would have just solved the problem then if that was going to be the situation. But she just blew up and she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna come. I'm gonna beat your A. I'm gonna beat your A. I'm finna come right back. I'm gonna come right back and beat your A." And I was just like, who's the child? Because he's sitting there accepting, what's going on. And before we had called, oh my God, he was just, please, please don't. And for me, I feel like, all kids are like, please, please don't. But after that encounter, I'm like, I definitely wouldn't next time. But that whole thing happens. And I'm telling y'all this because, boom, after that whole situation, I end up having a conversation with my sister because we had been back, and that time everything was weird. Like, normally I spend time in my sister's house, which is what we did when we had come down. And normally I spend time in my sister's house, but since that whole situation, that whole weekend, we didn't. Like, we didn't spend time, and her boyfriend was not conversing with us, which was really weird because, he lived with us, and whatever relationship might have been concocted in my head, but I thought we had a really good relationship. But he did not come out, even when my mom came over or whatever. And my sister ends up having a sit down with me. And she says, my boyfriend does not want to have a relationship with you. And it's just you. Your husband is fine. He gets a lot of value from him. You go and you make jokes about people, and it makes people feel uncomfortable. And then you have side conversations with our parents about us. And you also um have spoken about me negatively recently, and I'm putting my foot down and I'm not dealing with it anymore. We don't want to have a relationship with you, is essentially what was told. She sat me down and told me his thoughts. And my first reaction was, that's interesting. All of these things coming together. Very, very interesting. Very interesting. And I left and I swore Oklahoma City off. I said, everything I have loved, everything that I've put my heart into, the only thing that I would give anything for, my sister, chose another man over me, over our relationship. Completely broken from work. And then for this to happen personally, I broke down for a couple of months. I had a mental breakdown. Everything shut off. And I told my employer I will not be returning this year. And I actually, went back and forth, and, with funds and our lifestyle, being used to having a certain income and things like that, I went back and forth. But that breaking me actually built what we have now. I stopped relying on validation and to be approved by others, because at the end of the day, what you think is approval by others is only your perception of them, and whatever they're thinking and whatever they're taking in and whatever they're doing, it has nothing to do with you. Their perception of your deliverability and all that, stuff like that. Of course, deliverability can always be improved for many people, and I know I'm one of them people, baby. I'm straight to the point. I don't need no sauce on that at all. But yeah, that is actually what got me to realize that the way I was conducting business was also developing partnerships with people that I felt like had something that I did not have and could not have and could not develop, whatever amount of time, especially at the value level that they have it. And I was developing partnerships to fill holes that I could fill. Check that. It does not have anything to do with personality. It does not have anything to do with expertise. It does not. It does not. And until you get fulfillment and you start reading about a couple of the people that have accomplished certain things, do you realize that there is nothing that you couldn't accomplish that you don't work at for a while, right? There is no human. There is no Kobe Bryant. There is no LeBron. There is no Michael Jordan. There is no Tiger Woods that is better than you working consistently on whatever task. Because we really get caught up in this notion that if I start something and I don't become the LeBron, that I have not achieved what I am supposed to achieve. You working consistently at basketball will show you something about your life. Like, hey, I'm good at basketball, but I actually am really good at developing plays and knowing how to be a strategist. And in that process, you become the best strategist because you've done it since forever. Everybody don't have to be LeBron, but you got to figure out where you fit in that puzzle, and with consistency, you figure that out. Nobody's going to be any better than you being you, right? Nobody's going to be any better at you than developing your purpose, right? So, once you go through a certain thing and you do things consistently and you develop and you push it, you will get it. I guarantee you will. But the issue comes because you haven't been consistent with anything ever in your life. Not at waking up at the same time, even if you wake up at 11 o'clock, not at paying bills at the right time, not at, I'm not even getting to the hard stuff like working out or going to work or any of that stuff. But just one thing that you're consistent at, even if it's something that you like to do, isn't giving you money at this point. But there is no one path for somebody who is a basketball strategist. But that strategy will lead you to the outcome, even if you don't know what it is. You don't have to know what it is. There's this book that I absolutely love that's really integral to my life, and that's called Atomic Habits. Small things, small atoms that are small habits that are and do develop into something greater, because you work on that atom and then you work on attaching another atom, and then your whole program is built out because you have a strong nucleus. All it takes is one small thing, one small business, one small choice that is much better than you've ever chosen before. So with that information, um you know, I really had to survey my life, and I was tempted to go back and get that paycheck. When I tell you that I worked an hour away with traffic, my husband worked an hour away with traffic. We had one car. So one person was dropped off super early and the other person was barely making it in the door. And we also had to drop my son off at daycare. And after I had quit, I was like, well, maybe it was just that job, because there is a high school, right? Girl, I could walk to that high school. My husband could take the kid and he could take the car and I could walk. And it'll probably only take me probably 15, 20 minutes on a hot, rough day to get to that school. Like, that's how close it was. And they had one opening because it was just a really good school. It was a, what they call that, IB school. And I don't know why. Is that International Baccalaureate? I think so. An IB school. So really project based, really hands on for the kids, hands off for the teachers. Absolutely marvelous. And I came to a point where I was like, that could really be what I should do right now. It's like really safe. I have all the credentials that I need. And God was just telling us to go. Go. You tried to figure it out before and you weren't able to get where you need to go. You trying to say, oh, Teach for America, they got this grant, they got this, put you in a classroom, you're really strong relationally, get the information down, and you are hitting everything you need to hit. And all of it sounded great. But how I felt after that, I felt empty. And that's due to me not working toward my actual purpose, going through things or trying to remove obstacles from things that are really there to make you. Yeah, that was definitely me. I was like, hey, girl, maybe I am okay with these little breaks or whatever, as long as, they're cool. As long as, I worked in a Title II school before. Maybe it's not me. Maybe I just don't need to work at a Title I school anymore. Let me just go get a Title II school or a private school and be done with it. That's not the plan that God had for me. So I decide to make it final that I'm leaving education forever. I'm done, done, done. And we take a couple of breaks to Costa Rica because I needed it, honestly. I was not feeling like living, just not feeling like I had a purpose, not feeling any of that. And as I came out of that fog, I'm just now getting out of the fog. Let me be clear, crystal clear. I'm just now getting out of that fog. But as I came out, I realized you are enabling people to have power over your life and you feel powerless because you're giving people attributes or titles that you should be giving yourself before you're able to give others. Because when you have it inside of you, you have developed that context and you've developed a true value around it, opposed to being passive or something else that somebody has that you can't even like relate to. You can't even quantify it. You can't even check it. Get this. You can't even check the levels of it. I can't even check your levels of love. You love loving on people. Your boss cannot check that level of love because they don't have any in them. They don't know what it looks like. They don't know what it feels like. So you're trying to figure out why your boss doesn't come in or why your boss doesn't show appreciation. They don't show appreciation because they don't have appreciation in them. They don't appreciate themselves. That was one of the things that bothered me. Like, not trying to be funny. Okay, maybe it's a little bit funny. But I had told one of my friends, I said, they asked me if I want to step up and be principal. Why would you want me to be principal or enroll in a principalship program? You know how to try to get you politically aligned with that little carrot. Why would you want me to be in a principal program when you wear all your stress on your back? I'm not even trying to be funny. That was literally how it is. Like, you have a hunchback, and I feel like that's a lot of stress, and you're not in alignment with who you were supposed to be. You have all that weight in your stomach. And I'm not trying to be an anti big person, but you ever played against a big person in any type of sport? Bro, you're out of your mind if you think they're at a disadvantage because they're using their muscle and their weight in a good way. And that's just, how they're built out. But when you're talking about somebody that has weight in particular areas, every single one of my administrators said, I don't, I don't want that. I don't want that at all. No, 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 ma'am. And I went and I had to have a conversation with myself. I said, you already got it. You already got it. You already got that stress around your waist, and you are, putting it off as, oh, hey, Gabe, I don't think this stomach will ever go away. I'm the only person in the world that has had this stomach with stretch marks. You're the only person in the world. Come on now. Come on now. So, yeah, that built my business. So, in realizing that, I said, I need to write down all the processes that I deal with and that has helped me scale. And let me understand this part of it. I had to have a conversation with my VA. Show me how to do this. Wait, what does this mean? Oh, okay. Once I got to that point, I felt really bad because I was like, I understand how to do it. And I don't necessarily need you. I don't need that profit going out. When I was really passive, I was paying them $1,000 a month. And I really don't need that profit going out right now because I just need to perfect the information and just get good at it right now. And we had to let him go because we're using these profits, like we're scaling up, we're helping people, things of that sort, but we need to scale up in the right way. And I can't lead based on the person that I was before when I was so far away from the business that you didn't have to rationalize for anything you did in the business as long as it made money. No, ma'am, no, sir. That is not today, not ever again. And not ever in my relationship with my sister ever again. I love her to death, but that created negative pockets in our relationship because I put this value in a person that didn't want to be seen that way. Like, that's how you know we wouldn't even having really real deep relational conversations, because she was probably just like, I don't want it. I don't want none of that. Okay? Just let me be me. And we had to break that. It was really hard. So many relationships were broken in that moment. I don't have a relationship with her father figure, her stepmom, none of that. It's just not where I need to be anymore. We can't relate. Um, I'm just not looking for validity or nothing like that I was looking for when I had that relationship with them anymore. My value is not tied to what somebody thinks of me anymore. Only thing I'm thinking about is how I'm able to help other people and how that brings abundance. So that is my story time. Like, follow, subscribe. Let me know if you would like more stories about how my personal situations broke me. That person that I was no longer exists. Don't try, boo. But built my business. Thank y'all for tuning in. Catch you next time.